My name is Becky McDicken, and I am with the National Disability Institute. I am excited to be here today because I am in a new role. I have worked extensively in the past with Pennsylvania Treasury on ABLE initiatives and other initiatives. I have also worked extensively with the Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation on their curriculum, on their family guide. So I'm always happy to see PATF. But more importantly, I am excited to be talking about, financial empowerment for people with disabilities and why that is so important. So I'm just now waiting for the slides, which again, I apologize. Do you want me to pull it up? I've got it right here.
It's up to you. I have them up.
I'll do
We
it.
can't see them, Diana.
I know. There. You good now? Can you see them now?
I can see them now. All right, here we go. So you can click the next couple of slides because we've already done the introduction, or at least a couple of them. Couple reasons I am here today. I spent 18 years at the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities doing financial education. During that time, I worked on Governor Wolf's Financial Advisory Council for people with disabilities because I have a son on the autism spectrum. And I have, again, worked extensively with Treasury and PATF. So what I'm here to discuss today is financial empowerment for individuals with disabilities. What I'm going to be discussing is who NDI is, if you're not familiar with the National Disability Institute, some of our data, our financial counseling program, the small business hub that we operate, our American Dream Employment Network, the Financial Resilience Center, and our ABLE Resource Center. So we have a plethora of information for you today. And I am aware this is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So obviously I'm aware that the audience today could be someone with a disability, somebody who's a caregiver of a person with a disability, somebody providing services to a person with a disability. So we're going to be covering a lot of resources in a short amount of time for everybody. All right, moving on. Hello? So, National Disability Institute. As I said, I just started there. I've only been here 6 weeks, so it is a new thing to me. But can we go back one slide, please? I'm not there yet. And this is why I should have shared, right? So NDI was the first national organization committed exclusively to championing economic empowerment, financial education, and asset development and financial stability for persons with disabilities for the last 19 years. We're about to have our 20th anniversary, so I joined at a great time. Some of the things that we do, we build capacity out in the field through training and technical assistance of individuals and service organizations working with individuals with disabilities. We create systems of change by implementing models that can be replicated anywhere. We are testing innovative approaches to financial empowerment, and we are leading research to uncover barriers and opportunities. Our website, you can see there, is nationaldisabilityinstitute.org. Pretty simple, but all the resources I'm talking about this morning you can find through our website. Next slide. There was a study performed in 2017 by FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. And we worked with them on their data to break out the disability awareness piece. And some of the information, they were looking at financial capability. And the respondents with disabilities, as you can see here, are twice as likely to find it very difficult to cover expenses, just in general, twice as likely to have past due medical bills, more likely to forego a medical care procedure, whatever, because of cost, and twice as likely to be unable to come up with $2,000 in the event of an emergency. A few more stats, next slide. From that study that we distilled, somebody with a disability, less likely to have a checking account or a savings account, more likely to use prepaid debit cards. And they're not all evil, but if you are using prepaid debit cards, please be aware of the fee structure that may be eating into the principal of your card. I'll just say that. Someone with a disability less likely to have a non-retirement accounts and less likely to be willing to take risks on financial investments. And I certainly understand that from the perspective of I need money to get through my day-to-day. How can I afford to, risk money in the investment market, in the stock market, anything like that? So some very interesting stats. Next slide. NDI has done some other research and some of this is national data, but disability in numbers, we know there are about 54 million people in the United States with a disability. That number is constantly changing because we have an aging population. We have people with temporary disabilities, things of that nature. 26%, so basically 1 in 4 households have a member with a disability. Now, when we talk about disability, you probably already discussed this morning, but when we say disability, there are all kinds. There could be hearing issues, mobility issues, cognitive issues, visual impairment, speech and communication issues, learning and attention issues, and mental health and emotional health conditions. So it runs the gamut. That was one thing when I worked on the Governor's Advisory Council. Everybody was there for their own little niche and not looking at necessarily the bigger picture. So what we're doing now is trying to work with the bigger picture. But next slide. The need for financial empowerment is what this presentation is supposed to be about. And we are finding it is so critical for a person with a disability to have financial empowerment. That goes, the old phrasing was, financial education, but we want to empower individuals. We want people to feel they are in control of their financial well-being. 26% of working age people with disabilities live in poverty. So again, 1 in 4 live in poverty, compared with 10% of those without, or 11% without disabilities. When you add in people of color with disabilities, they face an even harder economic reality. You'll see here 37% of African Americans with disabilities live in poverty, 24% of non-Hispanic whites, 29% of Latinos, 19% of Asian Americans. And again, it's only 11% of somebody without a disability. So you see what having a disability does to someone and their poverty levels. Next slide. Individuals with disabilities, they're facing a greater financial fragility. The percentage of unbanked households, so nobody in the house has a bank account. If it is a household with a disability, they are 3 times higher likelihood of not being banked. Being banked, having come from the banking industry, it is so critical to have a mainstream financial institution. Usually you get fairer fees and services and products. So again, do your homework with those prepaid debit cards, things of that nature, but get banked, whether it's with a bank or a credit union. Households with a disability spend more than 30% of their income just on housing costs. This may be to have accessible housing. So they're paying more than the average household to get affordable housing, or not affordable housing, to get accessible housing. Across all racial ethnic groups, a lower percentage of people with disabilities saved for unexpected expenses compared to those without a disability. Again, money goes to other places when there's a disability in the household. So it is important that people be able to save for those emergencies. Next slide. The percentage of households with an annual income of less than $15,000 is 5.6 times higher in households that have a disability, a person with a disability, than those without. It just goes to show, again, having a disability severely impacts the ability to earn income. And we've been talking about how we can fix some of those challenges today. So next slide. Here's a question for you, and you can put your answers in the chat if you'd be so kind. I'm going to pull up the chat so I can see it. How much additional income would a household with an adult with a disability need to have to obtain the same standard of living as a household without a member with a disability? Any idea, any guesses, ballpark figures? You can throw it in the chat if you so desire. 15%. Anyone else? 50? Couple brave souls. Thank you for participating. 20. It's like The Price is Right. Do I hear higher or lower? All right. Thank you. Next slide, and we'll give you the answer. 29% more income, almost 30%, which is an additional $17,750 a year at the median level. That's a huge amount of difference. So again, the research on this one, you can see where the link came from is the extra cost of living with a disability in the US. And the source is in the link and will be provided in the slides and the PDF after the presentation, but almost 30% more in expenses. Next slide. Households with a disability, working aged householder have lower net worth. Again, it all makes sense. This is not shocking, but a household with no disability has an average net worth of about $84,000. Households with a disability, $14,000. Then once again, when you add a community of color to that mix, the disparities increase. A household with somebody who is Latino or Hispanic and disabled, $13,000 in net worth, and a household with somebody who is Black and disabled, only $1,200. Well, okay, 13 if you round up. This is from some of our research, and again, the link is on the screen or will be provided. Next slide. So what can we be doing about this? Well, NDI has a couple of initiatives, and one of them is financial counseling. I know we're talking about financial counseling for people with disabilities, making them more aware, giving them more tools and resources. So next slide. We at NDI did a financial counseling pilot program with financial empowerment centers, not the Federal Election Commission, out of both Louisville and San Francisco. And in that program, we worked with more than 300 clients with disabilities. With that program, we found out 62% at that point were receiving Social Security disability. Many people didn't receive that or didn't admit to receiving Social Security, and they left it blank. So 35% of the participants said they did not receive it, or again, didn't disclose. About half of those program participants were Black, and 24 were white, 5 were Hispanic, and 3% indicated they were Asian descent. Most of the clients in that program were between the ages of 26 and 64, and 2/3 of the clients were female, and 31% were male. So, in all the financial education that I've done over the years, women are usually a little more likely to reach out for help, but we have to, get rid of any kind of stigma about asking for help, especially when it comes to money. Money is the, root of everything. So we need to make sure we're helping people with this. Next slide. With the financial counseling, what did we discover? Well, we had 11% of the clients increase their income. The average was about $800 per person who actually did increase their income, but the total increase was about $26,000. 33 clients acquired a financial asset. They opened ABLE accounts, which maybe they had not been aware of before. They opened bank accounts, understanding the importance of being banked with a traditional financial institution, so banks and credit unions, and maybe not understanding all the online services that are available in today's world. And a lot of them opened credit cards and were able to get themselves credit cards and start establishing and building proper credit. 12% of those clients increased their credit scores. And that's really big when someone's got a dream of maybe home ownership or starting a small business and they need a little bit of money saved. So it is important to have access to credit. Next slide. Couple other things, we increased savings during that program. 47 clients increased their savings, and take a look at that. The total amount, over $108,000 from 47 people. They were managing to save more by learning how to budget and things of that nature. They also, the participants, decrease their debt. And get that one, $464,000 was reduced in debt through various means, paying things off, challenging different things on credit reports. The average decrease in debt for the persons who did manage to do that was $7,000 per participant. So financial counseling can make a huge impact on a person with a disability and their financial empowerment. Next slide. If you are out there and you're working with clients and you are doing any kind of financial counseling, NDI has a program to better train financial counselors in disability awareness. So we call it the Disability Inclusive Financial Counseling. If you are in that arena and doing financial coaching or counseling, you can click on the QR code. In this case, aren't we getting technologically savvy, to get more information on that, or reach out to me after this and I'd be happy to provide you more information on that program. Next slide. Now, when it comes to being a small business owner, it is a very viable option for many people in the disability community. We know that about 1 in 4 adults live with a disability in the United States. We know there are 32.5 million small businesses. People with disabilities are twice as likely to be self-employed. So giving access to resources for small business owners with disability, huge. And NDI has our small business hub. Next slide. So who does our small business team support? Well, entrepreneurs in any cycle of starting their business, whether they're just beginning, whether they're looking to grow and expand, we can help those individuals. If you are working with an entrepreneurial support organization or other ecosystem partner in serving people with disabilities, we can give you resources for, again, inclusivity in understanding some of the ins and outs of working, receiving, income versus some of those benefits that they may be worried they're going to lose. The person with the disability is going to, they might be worried about that. And I know we've talked about that. But disability employment service providers, we're trying to expand services to include self-employment in all the looking out there. If somebody is not able to go out and work in a traditional job, maybe self-employment is an answer. And yet many counselors and agencies aren't comfortable talking about that and those resources. So check out our small business hub and we can provide more of that. Next slide. So the hub, a few other things we have, again, anybody starting, building, or growing your business, we have a ton of resources at disabilitysmallbusiness.org. We have a ton of pre-recorded webinars, previous webinars on a variety of topics. All of them have ASL and captioning and accessible materials. So we're very proud of those materials. Coming up, we have a disability-owned national convening for small business owners. It's taking place November 20th and 21st. It is virtual. So you can see what the previous convenings were. There are webinars or the recordings on our website for those. And I believe registration for the next one that's in November is opening up either today or tomorrow. It's supposed to be for October for NDEAM. So take a look on our website for that as well if it is of interest to you. Next slide. We have a partnership with Verizon where there's additional small business training, helping people be more open to using digital technology and making sure that entrepreneurs with disabilities are learning more about networking and grant opportunities through Verizon. Did you know there is a streaming channel, I can talk, just from disability-owned business owners. They are streaming material and content for other entrepreneurs out there with disabilities. It is free. It's at disabilityowned.com. Check that out. And if you want to stay in the know, go to our join our mailing list through our small business hub. Next slide. We have a couple of other past projects. We have the JP Morgan Chase funded a project where we did some research into small business ownership with people with disabilities, the challenges and opportunities. The final report was reported out, and their webinar on that is on our website. And then we have been working with CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions, and making sure we are note that they know how to work with someone with a disability when in that CDFI arena. Again, we have archived webinars on our website if this is of interest. Next slide. If anyone is looking to become employed and is part of the Ticket to Work program under Social Security, NDI has the American Dream Employment Network. We are a partner with Social Security under that program, and we offer all kinds of services to those people trying to get into the workforce who may be, having those needing that extra assistance. We can do, it's anybody from age 18 to 64 who is looking to join the workforce. We offer counseling, job support and placement, long-term employment supports, and other financial wellness resources. So if you're looking for information on that kind of program, check out our website. I know I sound like an infomercial. Next slide. Couple other things, then I will stop talking and let Karen take over. But if you are an individual with a disability or a caregiver of one, and you are facing some kind of financial situation that's very, stressful in the moment, we have created the Financial Resilience Center. This is a website that is going to give you immediate resources, immediate help. Again, it's financialresilienccenter.org is the website. We created that program with a grant from the Wells Fargo Foundation, but we're trying to make sure individuals have the resources to bounce back from life's setbacks. Next slide. Some of the things the Resilience Center offers are, you can sign up for up-to-date alerts of other financial tools and resources. We do analysis of financial policies and their impact, which can be huge and very critical this year. We provide answers to many typical questions in a Q&A format, so it's very easy to look for the topic you're interested in learning more about, whether it's home ownership, starting a small business. We have questions and answers on those topics, and you can sign up again for more email alerts, and we even have an outreach toolkit if you are in interest in that. I can talk again. Next slide. Lastly, I know you've heard a ton about ABLE this morning from Diana already, and Treasury Department, but we do have a National Resource Center for ABLE accounts. If you don't have an ABLE account and are looking to open one, you can only open one. For a person with a disability can only have one. You may have different options through different states, what the different states offer. You may just want to check out some of those resources and be able to compare and contrast. So take a look at that website if you need more information, but obviously Pennsylvania Treasury's got you covered as well. Last slide. QR code, and yes, I saw somebody say, can you put the links in the chat? We will certainly get them for the ABLE Resource Center. And I believe now we are up to the end of me, and I will be turning things over back to Diana. And if you need my email, there it is, bmacdicken@ndi-inc.org.
Thank you
and
so
my
much.
Apologies to the ASL translator. I speak a mile a minute. I apologize.
Thank you so much, Becky. Karen, are you ready to go?
I am here, and let me blur my background so you don't see what I have going on here. And thank you for your patience. Welcome, and thank you also for having me, and Becky and Diana and Dave for getting me that link. I just full disclosure, I struggled a little bit getting on, and as Murphy's Law, where things that will go wrong will, I got on a little bit late, so it was a bit of a panic, but I'm here and following Becky, who is fabulous. So I am a white woman with brown hair, brown glasses. I'm wearing, it kind of looks like a pink top, but it's really purple. And I'm really thankful to be here. We are huge advocates of the PA Able program, and we've worked with Treasury on a couple of projects. In fact, something that I'll be talking about today. So today, I'm just going to do a little deep dive into our money journey and our learner's guide that is called Sense and Sensibility. And on this slide, you are going to see there are people doing money things. There are people using gift cards to buy their Starbucks or writing out a check. Or in the middle column is an individual getting her first paycheck, and then below her are students learning about managing money using our Sense and Sensibility. The individual you see to the right of them, to my right, is very proud that he has saved a lot of coins in his bank, and he's going to the bank to deposit them. And then also you see the cover of our Sense and Sensibility guide, which is that green cover, and an award we won. So next slide, please. And then, thank you. And I'm Karen Hassett. As I said, I'm Director of Financial Education at Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. I have over 10 years in public education. I'm a certified Pennsylvania teacher. I've worked in several Philadelphia area credit unions, managing and directing their financial education. In fact, I was very pleased and proud to create a financial education program, literature-based, based on a children's character for grades K through 3 that is sold to credit unions. And also I was involved with the creation of the hopefully new Pennsylvania personal finance education standards. They are in the works. I don't, if you may or may not know this, but actually Pennsylvania passed a requirement that all students graduating from high school will have to have 1/2 credit. So that's probably 2 marking periods of personal finance before they graduate. And that requirement will start in the 2026-27 school year. So I'm very excited about that and looking forward to people coming out of high school with a little personal finance. Next slide, please. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation, or PATF. We're located in King of Prussia, but we operate statewide. The majority of our board of directors and our staff are individuals with disabilities or have immediate family members with who have disabilities. We're what is called a community development financial institution. We lend to consumers. We lend to individuals if they should need assistive technology. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our loan program in the coming slides. So next slide, please. And as I said, we help all Pennsylvanians of all ages, of income levels. There's no minimum or maximum income, all disabilities, health conditions, communities, and cultural backgrounds. Next slide, please. And what we do, we provide information and assistance about assistive technology funding resources. So for us, assistive technology, and actually the federal definition, is anything that can help you live the life you want to live, be independent, be part of the community. So it can be something as everyday as a hearing aid, or something for, with vision, or it could be a fence. If a child has an elopement issue, we have provided financing for parents to put a fence in their backyard so that their child can go out and play with their siblings and be safe. And so we provide loans, and also we provide financial education. And I'm going to talk, most of this presentation will be about financial education. Next slide. And these are our 2 loan programs. What we do is we call a mini loan program. It's from $100 to $7,000, and individuals can borrow money. There is no interest, there are no fees, and the maximum repayment is 48 months or 4 years. We also have another loan program. It's called our low interest loan program, and that's for amounts $7,001 and above. It's 3.75% interest and no fees. We can guarantee up to $45,000. If the loan is not guaranteed, it can actually go up to $60,000. So, and if you, I at the end of this presentation, I have all of our contact information, and we are happy to take questions and phone calls if somebody is in a situation where they just don't really know what the next step is. We can help with that. We can provide resources. So next slide, please. And the rest of this presentation is going to be about why we do financial education, what are the benefits of it, and I'm going to talk more and introduce Pennsylvania's Assistive Technology Foundation's financial education publications, Sense and Sensibility, and I'm going to slide in a little bit of information on how to get on track and stay on track. Next slide, please. And I, like Becky, am struggling for words, but so why do we do financial education? Well, it's all about empowerment, being empowered to make financial decisions, being empowered to advocate for ourselves. It's also about autonomy, meaning independence, being part of a community, and even including being a part of mainstream banking, being able to access mainstream banking products, such as loans, such as checking accounts, or any other thing, of investments. And it all gets wrapped up into this word that you see. It's a second bullet called financial well-being. And financial well-being is just the level of your ability to weather a storm. I like to simplify things, and to me, that's what the simple definition is: how we can weather a storm. We are all going to have ups and downs in our financial journey, and the well-being is that we can manage those ups and downs without really getting into such a deep financial hole that we can't get ourselves out. Next slide, please. And the benefits. We believe that reaping or sowing the seeds of financial education will reap huge benefits. First of all, those money skills that you will have now and in the future, and also understanding that you can work, or it is possible to work and maintain important services. We also include information about Pennsylvania specific information on home and community-based waivers and MAUD. And then we have information, and we have a worksheet that can help with decision making and all different types of decision making, supported decision making. We talk a little bit about guardianship and powers of attorney. Next slide, please. And the goal of financial education is that we are independent, that we can be part of our community, and we can make decisions and advocate for ourselves. So these are the two financial publications that I'm going to talk about for most of the rest of this presentation. We do have the green one is the one, it's a green cover called Sense and Sensibility. We just put out the 8th edition in the summer, and that's going to take up the bulk of this presentation. But I do want to point out there is Sense and Sensibility, that yellow sort of gold cover is our educator guide. It's our teacher's guide. That helps anybody who wants to teach financial education, and it doesn't have to be a certified teacher. It can be any person educating. And it provides resources, background information, classroom-ready activities, including a slideshow, including worksheets, and a ton, as I said, a ton of resources. But we're going to focus mostly on that green book, Sense and Sensibility, A Guide to Money Management. And we're going to talk, this is what I call the learner's guide. This is the guide that we use, that I use if I need help in my money journey. You can get to those. There's that clickable link, which I believe you will get a copy of this presentation. But of course, you can also scan that QR code. NDI is not the only fancy organization. I love QR codes because I love easy. And you can scan that, and that'll actually get you to our education page, where there are a lot more resources than I'm going to talk about today. Next slide, please. So our Sense and Sensibility, that 8th edition, is available. It's available in print, so paper copy. It's also available in digital form. It's accessible, and you can request to download it. You'll see how to do that in a little bit. And also it is fillable. So what we always recommend is that individuals download it and save it on their computer. They can fill it in and refer to it as needed. And I think it's kind of fun to go back after a period of time and see what my answers were, see how my money attitudes have changed. There is a glossary because terms matter. We want individuals to know the terms that are being used in the financial world. I always believe that the more you know, the more you're willing to ask questions. So we want to give everybody that key to the door to open into that world of mainstream financial products. There are a lot of activities to support the learning and also resources available throughout the chapter and in the back of the book as well. And again, this is available in print and accessible PDF. Also, I didn't mention it's free. So you can request this, it's free to send to you. And, you know, I think you will enjoy it. I'm really quite proud of this. So let's dig into it a little bit. And next slide, please. So this is Finn, and Finn is our peer educator. Finn is a partner with the learner. Finn provides firsthand knowledge.
Karen, I believe we lost your audio.
It looks like Karen might be frozen. Karen, are you back? Karen, I can't hear you. Can you call in, Karen? I think Becky is going to step in.
Oh, wait. Karen might be back.
We can't hear her, though. I had that problem earlier myself.
Karen, just try logging out and logging right back in if you can.
We'll give her one more minute, and if not, I can attempt to take over.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience. If anyone has any questions for Becky, in the meantime, you can type them into the chat box.
I did put a couple of the links that were requested into the chat box for the Financial Resiliency Center and our the Inclusive Disability Financial Counseling Program. So I put those links.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
There you are.
Okay, what I'm going to do, my apologies, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to shut off my camera for a minute because I'm going to I'm on my phone. I'm going to put my phone on a stand so you don't see it bouncing up and down. So give me 1 second and I will be right back.
The additional resources that I put in the chat they're part of the files that will go out. And if they're not live links, my email is there. You can certainly email me and I'd be happy to get them to you as well. But I think they're in the resources.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you? Okay. Well, so we can move on. Next slide, please. And I'm having quite the day. Okay, so this is a screenshot of our table of contents, but what I wanted to point out is that these are fundamental financial concepts. This is what every financial education curriculum teaches. We talk about money attitudes. We talk about budgeting, but we call it money mapping, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Savings, banking, fintechs, we talk you investing. That is our new chapter, and I'm actually very proud to say that Treasury helped write that as well. Borrowing, we talk about student loans. We broke out our identity theft chapter, which I will also talk about in a minute. And then we have a chapter on living independently. Can you rent? Can you buy? What are the things that you need to look for when you want to move out and be independent? And then we have a chapter just on decision making, and it includes guardianship, it includes power of attorneys, it includes supported decision making. And then finally, as individuals transition from secondary support into, and I'm just going to say adulting, there is a transition checklist and a chapter that brings everything together and helps us helps create a list of all the things that an individual needs to do when they start adulting. Next slide, please. And these are our two new chapters in our 8th edition. And as I said, Treasury did help us write this chapter. So there's a lot of information on PA Able and the investment options. However, I like to think of this as Investing 101, but that's a really boring title. So we did Investing for My Future. It talks all about different kinds of investments and stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It talks about risk as well. It's a really great primer, whatever word you use, on investing to get individuals started. And then we also broke out identity theft from our savings chapter because of just
Is Karen frozen up again?
am I still frozen?
Oh, you're okay now.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. It's okay. It happens.
No, I have 4 years that I've been doing this. This has never happened. So my apologies. Anyway, so it also tells you how to be safe online and how to protect yourself when you are on.
Becky, would you be able to present this?
I can. Karen, one suggestion, maybe try turning your camera off. Maybe it's a bandwidth issue. Because you're back vocally.
Okay, so I will turn my camera off. Is that better? You
so
can hear
far,
me?
so good.
All right,
Yep.
Next slide, please. So you just won't get to see my face, but you are frozen, so that's not helpful. So let me see. Let me get to my next slide. So I can see, I'll just move. to where it is, and then it's like flying blind. So we've expanded, thank you. We've expanded some chapters, and that chapter 5, you will see we have a worksheet, and you'll see it on the slide. It's where should I keep my money? So you have this paycheck, where do you want to stash that cash? And you can compare different types of financial institutions. And we pick some of the priorities if you, on the left-hand column, but of course, if those aren't the ones that you're looking for, certainly individuals can add more to that decision-making sheet. We also expanded our chapter on borrowing, including a lot more information on student loans and PATF loans. Next slide, please. And then chapter 10 is another chapter that we expanded, that's decision making. And you're going to see on this slide the decision making model called PACED, and PACED, and it's in our guide. It's a great tool for making any decision. I use this all of the time. On the left hand side, I put what's important to me, and then on the top I write out my options. And if you've ever seen any of these house shopping shows, you know that they have certain things that are must-haves, and then there are 3 housing options. You know, do they fulfill those? Which one fulfills more, or which one feels the most important? Next slide, please. And what I like about this guide, it's very easy to use. We added page footers so that you know what chapter you're in and what topic. It's, as I said, it's fully compliant, fully fillable, so you can literally download the entire guide, Sense and Sensibility, and use it as you need it, and refer to it whenever you need it. There are individual activity sheets, so all the activities that you'll see listed in the guide have a standalone sheet, and they are housed on our website and our Study Money site, which I'll talk about towards the end. And again, downloadable, fully fillable. Next slide, please. So I said I would do a little dive into a financial concept, and I'm going to talk about 3 things that are essential to get you on track with your financial journey and to stay on track. And the first thing are needs and wants. So next slide, and you actually just click perfect. So a need is anything that you must have to survive. It includes a place to live, food, healthcare. And you can see there's a list under need: food, shelter, clothing, credit card payment, which I'll talk about in a minute, and access to healthcare. A want is a would like. It's anything that would be nice to have, but it's not something that you need right away. In fact, I always say, if you have a struggle between it, deciding whether it's a need or a want, ask yourself, do I need this, or can I live without this for 6 months or more? If you can live without it, then that means it's a want. And you can see we need food, but we don't need to have takeout. We need a house, we need shelter, a roof over our head, but we certainly don't need, a 15-room mansion with 7 bathrooms and a ton of bedrooms, right? We need clothing, but we don't need to have super trendy clothing. I think we're very influenced today by people in social media, but we don't need to buy that kind of clothing, because chances are it's either going to go in the trash or get thrifted once we're done with it. And the reason why I put credit card payment, when you have a credit card, you have an obligation to pay the minimum payment, to make that minimum payment. So that's a need. You need to do that, because if you don't do that, your credit will suffer. But if the want here is, I want to pay that entire bill in full, that's always a good idea. But you want to make sure that you satisfy your needs first before your wants. So you always want to have your needs come first, and then your wants are what you do when you have leftover money. So it's okay to spend on wants, but you just have to plan it. You just have to make sure you cover your needs first before you start spending on your wants. So next slide, please. And values, next slide, please, is one way that we can help
figure out what is important to us, what is a need, what is a want. And that's what values are. It's just what is important to us, what are our priorities. And once you know what is important to you, then you can really separate things between needs and wants. And of course, these things change over time. As we get older, our values and our needs and wants do change. So it's not like we can say right now, these are my needs and my wants, and they'll never change. No, it will change over time. And this is the last thing I want to talk about. Next slide, please. Habits. Thank you. These are the things that can really undermine our money journey, our money health, if you will. And I always recommend for people, once you figure out your needs and your wants and what's important to you, take a look at your money habits, especially if you're wondering, where does my money go at the end of the month? And ask yourself these questions. When you receive money, do you have a plan for it? Do you know how much you spend each month? Or if you borrow something, is your habit to return it on time? When you receive money, do you make sure that plan includes savings? And do you have a safe place to save? Do you have a safe place to put that money? Also ask yourself, do I talk about how much money I have and where I keep it? Not safe. So these are, and even habits can include that cup of coffee every morning if that's what you do before you go into work, or every lunchtime you might go to Chick-fil-A or Taco Bell. Those are things that can really add up over time. And once you start looking at those habits, then you can kind of chip away at them and make sure that you're not just spending money without thinking about it. Next slide, please. And this is what the inside of our book looks like. This is our money mapping chapter and earning. And it really helps learners get started on planning their money, planning their spending by understanding what's coming in and what's going out and how they can adjust it. And we use a pin like you would see in Google Maps to identify anytime we are talking about money mapping. We really want to move away from that word budgeting, because budgeting just makes it sound like you have to live without. And money mapping is more your financial journey. Sometimes we take little side trips, but we always know we have to get back on that main road to get to our destination. And again, you can see there's some green in the sidebars. Those are terms and resources that are available for the learner. Next slide, please. And this is, I know you've talked about ABLE, and Becky has talked about ABLE as well. We also have a comparison sheet. You can actually have an ABLE account and a special needs trust. So we compare them. What are the benefits? What are the cons of each? And who can set it up? What are the costs, and how you can use them? And Becky already talked about that. The National ABLE Resource Center and ABLE Today is also a great resource. And of course, you can download this comparison sheet from that link that is on the slide at our patf.us/publications. Next slide, please. And we also, in our Sense and Sensibility, we talk about working, how you can work and still maintain your benefits. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into this, but this is a great, easy to read resource for individuals who want to work and need to maintain benefits. Next slide, please. And finally, this is our last chapter. Are you ready to go? So it takes all of the 10 previous chapters and summarizes them in a easy peasy checklist, which if you would go to the next slide, I can show you. So this tells you about have you applied for SSI, home and community-based waivers? Do you have a credit union or a bank? Do you have all your health information in one place? Do you have an ID? Maybe you don't drive, but you should have an official state ID. Also, when you turn 18, have you registered to vote? And if you are a male, have you registered for selective service? It's a checklist. It's fillable. You can check things off as you go. I love lists because when I check things off, it makes me feel like I've actually accomplished something. So this is available. Also, this is available in a standalone sheet. So you literally can download this sheet and save it on your computer, print it out, however works for you. Next slide, please. And then I just want to very quickly talk about a couple of our other financial education resources. We have this great website called studymoney.us, in addition to our website, patf.us. This website covers all these topics. It's really accessible. It's engaging. It has more activities and things that you can do online. And of course, it always has a ton of resources for both the learner and anyone who wants to teach financial education. Next slide, please. And then finally, we have a Money Talk series, and you can see the link down there at the bottom. We record all of our webinars, and we actually have one on voting coming up in about 3 weeks, but we have an identity theft webinar, we have decision making, taxes, credit, and they're all recorded, they're all accessible, and they're all available to view, including the slide decks and any other resources that might have been included in that presentation, and they're all available for free online. Next slide, please. And I want to thank everyone for bearing with me, and my apologies. I'm a little embarrassed about my technology snafus here, but this is how you get a hold of us. Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. You can find us at www.p as in Peter, A, T as in Thomas, F as in Frank, .us, and certainly you can call us. If you ever have a question, we are here to help. We don't just provide loans. We don't just provide financial education. We also provide information and assistance. Thank you very much. And thank you, Catherine, for your comment.
Thank you so much, Karen and Becky. That was wonderful. Karen, we have one question.
Sure.
One person took a quick look at the PATF website and asked whether there's an audio option for someone that might need to listen through the book versus reading it.
So,
do you know?
Well, you can actually, it can be, a screen reader can read it. So there's not a button you can click, but if you have, it's my understanding, if you have like a tablet or an iPad, it can actually it will read it to you. It has that function. So I think if your device has that function, you should be able to have it read to you. I don't know if that's quite answering your question. It's not a click of the button, but it can be read.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Yes. So hopefully I answered, that's the answer. But I know people that have used it based on their tablets. And I love that idea. I think somebody just, and I'm afraid to touch anything, Diana, but I believe there's something in chat that maybe just make a note on the online somewhere on the website, on the page, might be helpful.
Yes.
I'm gonna look at that. Hopefully I don't cut myself off. I'm gonna see if I can actually see the chat.
It said it may be helpful to have a notation on the website to help people know that.
Perfect. I will definitely do that because, as I said, I didn't even know it until somebody told me that that's what they do. They put it on their Google Chromebook or their iPad, and it can be read to them.
Awesome.
So that's a great suggestion. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you both so much. We just learned so much from all your information. We're very fortunate to have you as partners.